Welcome to Hot Topic News.
Israelis and Palestinians have been locked in conflict for more than 50 years. Too many people have died. Too many lives have been shattered. Can the future be different from the past? Is peace possible? Can two peoples who have fought each other for so long live next to each other without violence? This film explores how the core issues might be resolved. Jerusalem, security, Palestinian refugees, settlements, and borders. The shape of the future.
Hello and welcome to Hot Topic News. I'm your host, Daniel First, and today we've got a hot topic for you. Today we will discuss the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Here to answer our viewers' questions is Israeli peace advocate and Jewish expert Ben Natan. Hey Ben.
Shalom, Daniel.
You come to us today to shed some light on the situation in Israel by giving your own thoughts on the conflict that has been raging for so many years. But first, how about a bit of background? Could you explain what the origins were of the land known as Israel?
Well, in the early 20th century, the British actually had a ruling over what is modern-day Israel. The land at the time was known as Palestine. However, after the atrocities of World War II, the UN decided to designate that land a Jewish nation in order to provide a sort of protection for the Jewish people.
Was there an immediate impact on the geographic area against Israel when the country was established? If so, why?
Absolutely. The country was originally settled. When the country was originally settled, it created a huge stir. The land was being taken from an established community and given to that of a group of people that the locals already had a bad history with.
Do you think that this is the core of the conflict?
I think so. The Arabs, like most cultures, are very set in their traditions, so when someone violates a territory that they have been part of for so long, it would be kind of seen as a spit in the face of the people. For example, Jerusalem, a heavily sought-after territory, and the capital of Israel, is the home to many religious facets in all of the world's major religions. The Dome on the Rock, for example, is the supposed place of Muhammad's ascent to heaven, and that is located in the heart of Jerusalem. So, for the area to be taken and given to a group of people that weren't originally there is an affront to the people that were there, the natives, so to speak.
What are the lands that are being disputed?
The two biggest pieces of land in dispute are the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. The West Bank is the region around Jerusalem. The land is argued to be controlled by that of the Palestinians and the Jordanians. They say that they've had the land for a much longer time than the Israelis, and that the Israelis have no right to settle there. However, the Israelis see it as a part of their own country and continue to inhabit the region, obviously causing conflict. The Gaza Strip is a piece of land in midwestern Israel. This land is inhabited by a high concentration of Sunni Muslims. The land was obtained during the Six-Day War by the Israelis, but because the land originally belonged to Egypt, it remains predominantly Muslim. In 2005, Israel withdrew from Gaza, but in 2007, Hamas, a large terrorist organization in the region, took over as rulers in Gaza. Ever since, Gaza has been a hotbed for terrorist activity. Hundreds of thousands of rockets have been fired into Israel over the past 6 years, and it hasn't ceased yet. These rockets have endangered the lives of thousands and millions of people and causing millions of dollars in damages as well.
What kind of action has Israel taken against such attacks?
Israel has tried bureaucratic action with the government in Gaza, but as it seems that Hamas is hell-bent on wreaking havoc against Israel, Israel eventually had to use military force. Many times has Israel deployed its dominant military into Gaza to scrimmage with Hamas sympathizers. However, it's very difficult for Israel to take military action because, one, it receives incredible amounts of criticism from world leaders because they say that Israel is committing human rights violations, and two, Hamas uses civilian buildings as bases in order to shield themselves from attacks. This puts innocents at risk, and unfortunately, due to this, there have been innocent casualties that have been caught in the crossfire of the conflict, which sparks this whole human rights violation thing. Obviously, or in my views, I don't see these attacks on civilians as being intentional.
What do you think each side wants out of the conflict?
Well, it is hard to see the grand scheme. I would say the Palestinian civilians would just like independence from the Israeli government, and the more radical people prefer Israel just didn't exist at all. The Israelis always seem to react in this conflict. Rarely do they make unprovoked attacks against the Palestinian groups. I surmise that they would just like to keep the country in order, keep people from attacking Israeli civilians. They just want peace. That's what it seems.
Why have attempts of peace in the region failed?
Well, after 70 years of war and peace treaty, it just seems repetitive at this point. A country will attack Israel, Israel defends itself, wins handily, signs a peace treaty, and then someone attacks again. I feel like this can be compared to the situation in Northern Ireland. Although one core group may not cause a stir and has resolved its problems, there are many splinter cells that continue to attack the British establishments. Likewise, in Israel, the moment one adversary puts down their arms, another one seems to take them up.
In your opinion, based on recent acts of violence in the Middle East, do you think the conflict can be resolved?
I always try to stay optimistic. I really hope it can, and I think that steps can be taken to do so.
What are those steps?
The problem that we face is that people want to live under a name and under their own laws. It is difficult to change people, incredibly difficult. But if Israel established a more secular approach to how the country is run, it would allow more equality among different religious groups. If people are allowed to live religiously as they please, then it would help to settle the issue. Of course, this is all conjecture. It'd be incredibly difficult to please everyone, especially the more radical advocates on both sides. Once again, I am trying to be very forward-thinking and very positive. I hope that both sides can come to a resolve that we can end this horrible fighting.
Thank you very much for your insight. We hope that everyone is able to put aside his or her differences and live in peace. I hope you stay safe and good luck with your work. Thank you.
You're welcome, and I hope all remains well with you as well.